Hi, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Leslie. Welcome back to Fun with the Friedmans. We went somewhere cool last weekend.
We went to Copenhagen.
Yes, which is in Denmark. And to visit a friend of Andrew's, but we've never been there before. So we are going to do the good, the bad, and the ugly of Copenhagen. As of what we saw.
Yes.
Ready to get started?
I'm ready.
Okay, so there's a lot of good. Spoiler alert.
Mostly good.
Mostly good. What do you want to start with?
For me, I think the good was the architecture was really cool.
Yes. Very, very mixed.
Yes, it was not like one specific style. It was almost like the best of all the styles, as our friend said.
Yeah. So he was joking that it was, so it's right on the Baltic Sea, so it's a big shipping city. So people would go out and see cool stuff around the world and be like, we need that back home.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like architecture wise. So walking along kind of the seafront, but it almost felt like a river because you could be on both sides, was very cool because you saw these like every single type of architecture possible.
Side by side.
Yes. In fact, I took a picture. Remember of like the pyramid? I'm going to put that up there. Right there. See how many different architecture things you can find in this
single picture. Also, there were some cool engineering feats. So there was this really cool bridge that was it was like a drawbridge, but instead of going up, it rotated out of the way. So it rotated so that you could pass through.
So
it was circular.
Yeah, it was these giant circles that all connected, and then
they had a column up that made it look like a sail. So they had this kind of pillar, and then off the pillar were these suspension wires that held up the platform.
Yes, and then there was somebody, so they blocked it off, and we didn't know what was going on, but everyone was kind of gathering, and so
they were gathered too. To get off of the bridge.
They were telling people to get off the bridge, and we were like, something's going to happen. Like the woman in the safety vest, like she knew what was up.
Yeah, she was calling it.
So we started filming because I was like, maybe something's going to happen, and the bridge literally just was like,
pivoted out of the way.
It was very, very cool.
Very cool engineering. We have a video of that and some pictures of that.
We have a video of that, and yeah.
Very cool. And then the design museum was super cool. We could have spent probably an entire day at this design museum, which
easily
had everything from, the art of patterns. It had this room about the future of how design will influence the world. And it was really, really incredible.
Yeah, it had everything from fashion. I think one of the first exhibits, which isn't I don't think that was a permanent exhibit.
I think it was a special.
I think it was a special exhibit. They had this Danish. I always want to say Dutch, and that's a different country. They had a Danish fashion designer who went through. So I guess there's like 14 or so different like regions of Denmark. And so he created an outfit for each of the different regions, kind of based on whatever that region was known for, or the vibe of the place, or that was very, very, very cool. We'll put up some pictures of that. And then
there was like this Japanese kind of exhibit of all these old Japanese stories of the war after Japan ended its kind of isolationist policy from the rest of the world. So in kind of the 1800s, 1900s, early 19th century.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the future, and then a lot of fabric. I was in like seventh heaven. That's what Andrew was talking about, the patterns, a lot of fabric. Each individual section was just so masterfully done. Yeah. It wasn't just like
it was well designed.
It was well designed. It was really good for adults, but it was also good for kids.
Yes, because it was interactive. You could touch a lot. You could interact with a lot of the things, and they had this one cool section where it was like this mix of time. It had colors, time, and materials and kind of themes, and so it mixed these different themes of throughout the course of history. So for ivory, I think was one, for example, and then it showed how ivory has been used throughout the course of history.
So cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. And we had to rush a little bit because we had to meet up with our friends.
Yeah.
So nearing the end, we had to leave. But then they had this beautiful Dutch furniture exhibit that we kind of walked through.
They had a whole wing of like chairs, different chairs from different eras.
It was absolutely awesome.
So cool.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And you could tell like design was a big thing in Copenhagen because they just had a lot of really neat design features in everywhere that you went. So whether it was architectural features or pedestrian pathways, or we saw this kayak.
The kayak slide.
Yeah,
it was a kayak slide.
It was like a kayak launch. I don't know if it was for training for like extreme kayaking, but it was a very steep slide that you could launch a kayak off of, and then I guess practice like getting yourself back upright. I don't know.
It was intense. Yeah. I mean, there was this great like wooden walkway along the ocean, and it was off of that. So we were at least a story up, you think? And it was intense. We didn't see some wind go off it because the weather wasn't that great, which will come into the bad, the bad. But it was crazy.
Yeah,
we watched one on YouTube.
It was very cool. And so while we were there, the weather was nice for periods of time, but it would change quite a bit, and so that takes us into the bad. The weather was pretty bad, I would say.
Yeah, the weather was not great. Yeah. We knew it wasn't gonna be great, so like I brought a trench coat and umbrellas for us.
But it can change at like any minute.
Oh yeah.
So it'll be bright and sunny, and then all of a sudden it'll be rainy and cloudy.
Like very, yeah. The temperature was.
It was cool.
Cool.
Yeah, it was probably in the 60s.
I mean, for what I think of for June.
Yeah.
That didn't stop someone from swimming.
Fully nude swimming.
In the Baltic.
Which is normal. To be fully nude. So, I mean, culturally, that was normal.
Oh, yeah.
But in the Baltic Sea, which they have a saying, like, cold as the Baltic.
Reason for that.
Yeah. So it was quite interesting, but it's probably very good for your blood circulation, I would imagine, that shock of cold.
So they say. Yeah. I'm not convinced about that, but yeah.
Yeah.
They do say that.
Yeah. They had a nice sauna. Back to the good. They had a really great sauna at the hotel that we stayed at.
Yes.
And this really cool pool that was like
a rooftop pool.
Yeah, rooftop pool. Everybody was very friendly. They spoke almost, I think everybody spoke English. It was like,
yes.
There wasn't any real doubt about like whether or not people would speak English or not.
They would just speak English.
Yeah, they would just speak English. And even the words were kind of like Germanic, like the language itself is kind of like Germanic a little bit. So even the words, you could kind of understand most of the words.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. So what other things would you put in the bad or the ugly category?
So I'll put this in the bad. We had a late checkout, and we came back like 30 minutes before checkout. And we had already packed up and stuff. So basically, we just had to get our bags and take them down to the front. And so we went up the stairwell, and you have to use your key to get in the stairs and out of the stairs. So, well,
not to get in,
just to get out.
Yeah.
So we went in, we went up the stairs, and the key's not working
because of this late checkout. It was a really late checkout.
It was, yeah, it was a really late checkout. And so we were like, oh my gosh, key's not working. So we go back downstairs.
And the key won't let us back in.
The key won't let us back in. So now we are locked in the stairwell of this hotel and can't get out. And so we're like, oh gosh,
we're gonna die in here.
We're gonna have to call somebody.
Yep.
And so Andrew was the tribute. So Andrew called the front desk.
Well, you tried to call and it just didn't.
I did try to call and it didn't work. And that's when we were like, we're just gonna die in here.
Yeah.
And then Andrew called. And he had to have the weird conversation of,
I just said, we're locked in the stairwell. Can you send somebody to come get us? And Leslie goes, you didn't even like prep them at all or like give them any sort of like, backstory. And I said, what backstory do we need? We're
staying at your hotel?
Can you send somebody to the stairwell?
And she's asking like, because there's more than one stairwell.
She goes, what color are the walls? And so I tell her to color the walls, and there's like some letter on the wall, but she doesn't seem to be responding as if it's like, oh, I know where that is. So I was just like, yeah, I mean, we're looking at the garden. You know, you can see the pool.
There's 2 stairways, and they both look into the garden and the pool.
Well, they found us pretty quickly.
They did find us pretty quickly, and they came, and we were like, "That's us. Please let us out. Please let us out." So then we had to go to the front desk to the same person that Andrew talked to,
and check out
to get our key done again.
Yep.
So we could go upstairs and get our bags. It was very funny.
It was quite fun.
Let's see.
One thing that I wouldn't say it was ugly. One thing that was different was apparently public urination is totally normal in at least Copenhagen. I think in all of Denmark, maybe.
Questionable. Yes. Thank you, because I was gonna put that in one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So public nudity is totally okay, and public urination is a-okay. So if the line's too long for like the loo, you can go outside
and squat.
Or
stand, depending on your gender.
On a building.
Yep.
And that's totally okay. We didn't
see that.
We didn't see that. And I guess, to be honest, it rains a lot there from what we heard and witnessed. So maybe it just kind of washes everything away and it doesn't really matter. But that was I qualify that as
ugly.
Something to that nature. Yeah.
Not great.
But we had a really good experience.
The city was very cool.
If you go there,
everyone was super friendly, very casual, very welcoming. Like
very casual.
Yeah.
If you go there, just know that they don't have ride sharing services.
Yeah, so Uber doesn't work there.
Bolt doesn't work there. Bolt doesn't work there. Like you just
take the taxi.
You have to take a taxi. Which I heard was the same in Italy, in places in Italy too. Sarah told me that.
But you can bike around, you could take a scooter, and you could walk basically everywhere in the city. It was a great walk.
It was a very walkable
city. Really good walking city.
Yeah, so even though the weather wasn't good, we still walked everywhere.
Yeah.
And
it was nice.
Yeah.
So
the walking was nice, and the weather.
The walking.
The walking. Yeah. The walking was nice. Yeah. So would recommend. I liked it.
Absolutely liked it. We'd go back.
Yeah.
So that was our trip to Copenhagen, which was great, as we said, and but it also made us appreciate Wrocław. So next week we will give a little preview of Wrocław and some of the downtown village. The kind of summer village that they have.
So we briefly talked about this at the end of our Catholic video about all the little kiosks and stuff downtown. So we're actually going to take you. You're not going to get to see us. I'm so sorry. And well, you get to see a little bit of us.
You get to hear us.
But we're going to take you on a little tour of what they have set up downtown for summer.
Yes, and so show off our city a little bit.
Yeah, so stay tuned. That'll be coming out next Friday.
Yes.
And until then, we miss everyone. We say hi and say it with us.
Do
widzenia.